Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. Today we're going to look at mainly loose graded vintage Star Wars figures, both licensed and unlicensed. There were some bootlegs that sold. We got Turkish Uze bootleg, one of those. We've got a lot of graded Polish bootlegs, and then I think one or two Mexican bootlegs. So very interesting to see graded bootlegs sell, and the prices were pretty insane for that Boba Fett that's in this thumbnail. That one went for like 2.5 times what I was expecting on that. So lots of really interesting data here, and I don't want to beat around the bush because we do have a lot to go through. And so the first one I want to show you is from a seller named Hammy Ian, and he watches the channel. He's emailed me before and things like that. He had this available at auction. I didn't see it actually until it was just ending. Blacked Out Ewoks on YouTube. If you're not a channel subscriber, you should be. Great dude. And he alerted me to this one. It only showed up in the eBay UK. So sometimes when sellers list items, both buy it nows as well as auctions on eBay UK, it doesn't show up here in the US. I don't know why. But that did not show up. And so I think that really hurt the price because, I think that this orange-haired Luke Farm Boy, this is a very tough variant to find. It's absolutely the orange-haired variant. It's a trusted seller. I certainly would have alerted a lot more people to it if I had known about it, but I just didn't see it get listed at auction. He had it listed for sale. It kind of sat, and so he decided to list it at auction. UKG 80% orange-haired Luke Farm Boy, and that one sold for £1,510 in an auction, 18 bids, which is $1,837. That is too low. That is too low to me. This one comfortably, I think, should have sold in the 2,500 US range minimum. And you could make an argument as high as 3,000, if not even above that. I mean, I've seen some AFA 80 examples go for over $3,000 this past year. So UKG 80, yeah, there probably should be a little bit of a discount relative to AFA just based on all the other data points we see out there. But that was a very good deal for somebody there. And the same seller, Ian, he also had this French Meccano Luke Jedi Knight, no COO Meccano. And trying to guess as to what is a no COO Meccano versus just a normal no COO, I have no idea. I do not know the factory variations for Luke Jedi very well. I mean, I've heard of a no COO Luke, but I didn't know that some of them were French Meccano. This one, Ian is a very trusted seller. He deals with very high-end items. I'm sure that this is exactly what it is. I'm just saying that I personally have no idea how to tell one of those apart. But this one was a UKG 90% gold, and that one sold for 246 pounds, which is $300 US. That to me seems like a bargain as well. But there you go. That was a great deal for somebody. Both of those were very good deals from Luke's. Here's one I did see on eBay UK, and I sent this out to my Patreon supporters. I don't know if one of y'all bought it or not, but this was a UKG 85 Rancor Keeper, just loose graded, but it had the really cool, flyer that was available from the Palatoy factory. You can see there on the flyer, it's got Palatoy at the very bottom there. Palatoy Division of General Mills Corp in Colville, Leicester, England. And it's just a great flyer. I mean, look at that flyer. How cool is that? So somebody took that original, advertisement or flyer for the Rancor mail away and had it encased right next to the Rancor Keeper loose graded. It's not the baggie, it's just loose graded. But still, that's a very cool item. That's very cool. So it was listed for 195 pounds. I think I looked it up on 130point.com, and I literally just looked it up 5 minutes ago. This is how bad my memory is. I think it was 180 pounds, okay? I think, all right? But it's like in one ear, out the other, and there's nothing in between to kind of log it. That's how my brain works sometimes. But that was a very cool item. I hope that one of y'all got that. I did send that out as a Patreon buy it now alert to you guys. Here was a UKG 90% Dianoga Trash Monster. So you can see there, gold level Trash Monster. That one sold for $307 US dollars. This one was in the US, and I've got some other items from this seller coming up here in a little while, but I thought that was a good deal, or fair-ish deal. This seller had a couple of gorgeous items. There were others available, but I wanted to show you these two. I think I had these in a what to buy video a couple of weeks back, but this is a purple stitch Jawa graded AFA 85 plus, and it's got the archival case, gold level, new case style. Very tough to get an 85 plus for anything, but this Jawa has that purple stitch, as you can see there at the bottom of the hem. Very bright purple there. Really, all of the purple is very bright on the sleeves as well as at the very bottom of the robe there. 85 plus, that sold for $365, which is about right. I mean, I was expecting, honestly, a little bit higher than that. I thought that would maybe go into the fours, but $365 is probably a fair deal. And then he also had a Hong Kong solid dome R2D2 graded AFA 85. That one sold for big money, $501.75. That's a bigger number than I was expecting there, but it was a beauty, and the sticker looks every bit of an 85. I mean, that is a gorgeous solid dome R2D2. So I can understand why somebody would be willing to pay up for that. That was a really, really nice shape for a solid dome. Here was another cool one. This was at an auction. This was a department store multi-pack of baggies, and it was an 8-pack of baggies, and it had all kind of 65-ish back character releases. We had the Biker Scout, ERG, Bib Fortuna, Weequay, Reese, Squid Head, Klaatu, and Gammy. So I think all of those were on the 65 back, if my memory serves. But very, very cool multi-pack, department store multi-pack. And you can see there it's got the, SKU number, the 71440, department store multi-pack, uncirculated 85 grade. How cool is that? So that was a neat item, and that one did sell for big money, $1278.79. Big item too. I mean, if I had the space for that, that would be a really awesome. If I had a Return of the Jedi kind of focus, that's a really cool item to kind of be as a centerpiece type of item. So that one did sell for big money. Next up, I've got some Last 17 from the same seller as, I've already forgotten what I was talking about. The Dianoga Trash Monster. What did I tell you, man? My brain is just, it's fried. I'm still trying to work through the vacation, man. I'm still on vacation mode. So he had some UKG, mostly UKG graded Last 17 that he had in the same auction. And so this one was a Barada UKG 80%. That one sold for about $150. This was an AFA 85 Imperial Dignitary. That one sold for $250. No nose rub on that bad boy. Very nice example there at $200. That's a pretty strong number too. I mean, we've seen a few AFA 85 Imperial Dignitaries get in kind of the 160, 150 range, which I would argue is too low. So 200 to me feels more about right to me for an AFA 85. So that's a good number. Next up was a UKG 85 General Lando. That one sold for $256. Another very solid, fair number for a buyer there. This one I thought was a steal. A UKG 90% gold level A-Wing pilot for $311. I mean, part of it might be because this was in the U.S. and some U.S. collectors don't care about UKG. They only want AFA or CAS maybe. I don't know. But to me, it's a UKG 90. It's hard to get a 90 with anything, with any grading company. And the A-Wing pilot very routinely, even on this channel in my loose complete market updates, we see them all the time. The A-Wing pilots sell all the time for over $300, and usually they've got a bad rub on the silver chest apparatus. So here's a perfect one, no chest apparatus paint rub, and a UKG 90, and it sells for the same price. So go figure there. That was a good deal. Next up was a CAS 85, a Monomon. That one sold for $372, another very, very healthy number in my mind for a CAS 85. I thought that was a good price there. Here were a couple of oddities here. This one was certainly interesting. This one was a tri-logo or, Spanish PBP light blue Boba Fett. Now, it was only graded UKG 75, but it was an error. And you can see there, it's the unpainted knee, but it had two right arms. So factory error, two right arms. And you can kind of see that here, where his right arm's normal, but unfortunately on where his left arm is supposed to be, it's backwards. So that's a really cool factory error. First time I've ever seen that for a Boba Fett. And, you know, the price didn't disappoint. This was over in the UK in an auction, 22 bids. That sold for £538, which is $654 and change. So very interesting factory error there. And then the same seller also had a UKG 80% droids R2-D2 with the saber, pop-up saber. So that's another nice example there. Old case style on that one, but still sold for £522, which is $635 US dollars plus shipping on that. So that's again a very healthy number. A couple of overstock Lily Lettys I wanted to point out. Now, this one was ungraded, but I thought it was worth showing. This one is an unpainted Lily Letty Lando skiff. It was also non-sonic welded. So I've actually got one of these, but it was sonically welded. And a lot of the times when the Lily Letty factory was going out of business, they had all of these parts just scattered about, unpainted, non-sonic welded, and they ended up on the black market. But you can see very clearly here that this is a very clean, totally non-sonic welded figure, and also unpainted. Now, I sent mine in, and mine's sonically welded, as I said. I sent mine in, got it graded. It came back with a CAS 90, but that's a very cool overstock item, and very desirable. Really, any unpainted overstock, whether they're sonically welded or not, from the Lily Letty factory, they've really gone up in value a lot. And, you know, I say that, but that's about what I paid for mine. Was about $300 maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But this one was non-sonically welded. CAS, on a side note, Collector Archive Services has a really cool case for these, and you'll see one of them here. So this is how CAS grades and displays non-sonic welded figures. I've shown some of the ones in my collection on my channel before. This one was available for sale. I did send this one out, I believe, in a what to buy video. And so this is a Klaatu skiff guard, non-sonically welded. I don't know why they say exploded view on there. It's kind of a silly thing to put on the grading label, in my opinion. But non-sonic welded Klaatu skiff guard, CAS 75 plus. So this one has been painted, but non-sonically welded. And that did happen as well. There were so many parts that were in varying stages of completion. As the Lily Letty factory shut down, there were boxes and boxes of this stuff that ended up on the secondary market, black market. So some of them, you know, they ended up adding their own cape, like a Lily Letty Emperor's Royal Guard. The black market would have ones that were unfinished without the cape, and they would add their own cape to it. And so it would be kind of a hybrid bootleg. And I've got one of those as well in my collection. So just a cool piece of collecting history, but I really do like how CAS displays those. It's just kind of a interesting. Of all the items in my collection, these non-sonically welded figures almost always get the first reaction from people who don't know action figures. They see these in my collection and they're like, what the hell is that? You know, so it always is a discussion topic for non-collectors when they come in here. They just think that they're, you know, kind of an interesting looking thing and they want to know about it. So those oftentimes get a lot of talking points, but the other talking points I get a lot are bootlegs. So as you guys know, I've got a lot of authenticated bootlegs in my collection, and apparently Gold Star Tech had a collection. You know, they've been selling it for nonstop, but whoever this consigner was had some CAS graded bootlegs, and so this one is a 1990s Mexican bootleg for Logray. I used to have one of these, I believe. It's silver, yellow, plastic with some brown stripes on it. Very ugly bootleg. It looks like tinfoil hat Ewok, right? Conspiracy theory Logray. He's got his tinfoil hat on. He's got all kinds of conspiracy theories. I'll leave it at that so this video doesn't get demonetized. If I shared some of the conspiracy theories I have, I would get demonetized and I'd get a copyright or a strike from YouTube. So I'm not going to do it. But I did want to show this one. This one was a CAS 70 that sold in an auction for $102. Not a big number, but it is a 1990s bootleg. But there are a number of other beautiful Polish bootlegs that sold. So this is a third gen articulated Polish bootleg for 9 and this one had the gold gloves and gold boots, and that's kind of a different thing. You don't usually see the gold boots and the gold gloves for this particular color scheme of Polish bootleg 9 I think I have one of these in my collection, but I think mine are just black boots and black gloves. But this was a CAS 80. That one sold for $159. They had a CAS 85 Plus third generation, and the third generation Polish bootlegs came out in about 1995. The second gen was about 1990, 1991, and then the first generation, which we'll show you. I don't know if we have any in this video, but there were some first generation fully articulated Polish bootlegs that came out in, I want to say like 1985, 85, somewhere in that ballpark. So 85 for the first gen, 91, 91 for the second gen, and then the third gen was anywhere from 95 all the way up until I think 2000, somewhere in that ballpark. But this one was a third gen Hoth Rebel Soldier, CAS 85 Plus. That sold for $212.50. This one I was really surprised by. Okay, so this one, this price is a lot higher than I expected. So this one is labeled third gen Polish bootleg Biker Scout, and I did have the weapon, which does add some value. It's hard to find the Polish bootleg Biker Scout pistol. That's a little tougher to find. That can cost you $50 to $75 minimum by itself. But this one sold for $787. That is a lot of money. That is a ton of money. You know, to me, I was thinking $350. I mean, this one went for over double what I expected. As crazy as that one is not as crazy as some of the others. So what I find interesting is that this one, a third generation, I think, it could be a second gen, but it's labeled third gen. A third gen Polish bootleg from the 1990s for the Biker Scout sold for $787, whereas this Polish deluxe bootleg for Yoda, which is much more rare, UKG 85%, and it says circa 1985, probably about right. But, you know, the Jacob Brzezinski book on the Polish bootlegs, he says at least in the first edition that there's like 20 of these out there. I think there's more than that. But, you know, one of 20, and this one sells for $432, which is highway robbery. That's someone got an absolute bargain on this figure, in my opinion. And we've seen them very consistently sell $450, $550, $600, somewhere in that ballpark. Now, this one, in all fairness, is incomplete. It doesn't have the snake, the cane, you know, things like that. The utility belt thing. I think there's a utility belt too for it. So, and there's other color schemes for the Polish bootleg Yoda. But, you know, this is the most common color scheme, and it was incomplete, in all fairness. But this is a much rarer bootleg than the Polish bootleg Biker Scout, and it sells for 60% of the price. So go figure on that one. Likewise, here's a third generation Polish bootleg Boba Fett, CAS 85, and it sold for $1424. I've seen people on Facebook, like the collectors that really started buying these in the 1990s in the bootleg group. They have pictures of like bags of these that are like, you know, there's 400 of them in a bag. I mean, it's crazy. These are very common, very, very common and easy to get. And we've documented on the channel some graded examples and ungraded examples that have sold anywhere from $300 to $700 max. Okay. This one sold for $1424, which is absolute insanity. Okay. That is insane. I just sold a CAS 80 Plus for like $475 or somewhere in that ballpark, $450 on Rogue 5 Toys. This CAS 85 sold for $1424. So somebody drastically overpaid for this, and two bidders put in nuclear bids on this. Don't pay $1424 for a third generation Polish bootleg Boba Fett. They are very easy to find. Very easy to find. That is insanity to me. So for whatever that's worth. And then finally we had an Uze Turkish bootleg Emperor's Royal Guard. These are Turkish, made in 1988 by a company called SB Products. I documented this one on the what to buy video, and the seller kept dropping the price. It did finally sell at 550 pounds, which is $670 US. Archival qualified 80, and it's qualified because it's not complete. It's got no weapon. But these are the naked ERGs. It doesn't have the cloak and it doesn't have the weapon, but it's a rare item. Any of the Turkish bootlegs are very rare, very tough to find, very desirable, and I would have paid that price all day long if I had been in the market for one. So that one did finally sell. They started off at like $1,200 US. and then they dropped it to 11, and then 1,000, and then 900, and then finally they listed it and they buy it now for 550. It did sell at 550, so 550 pounds, which is 670 US dollars. Good deal, very good deal on that one, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at some pretty cool vintage, loose graded, both licensed as well as bootleg figures that sold on eBay. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave me a like because it does help out with the algorithm. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.